All right, folks, brace yourselves because as we speak, Donald Trump is wrapping up what is likely his most unhinged and deranged press conference to date, which is saying something. But he's visibly confused and cognitively impaired, getting countries confused by name. He is openly admitting that he has triggered a trade war with China. He's talking about prosecuting his political opponents and hinting that he is directly involved, even as he also tries to hint that he's not. He says that he won the 2020, not just general election, but election in Georgia. He reprimands a reporter, a MAGA reporter, for saying he simply believes that Trump won the 2020 election rather than, you know it, you don't believe it. Believe is too weak of a word, you know it. And all sorts of just genuinely unhinged shit that we have to talk about. But before we do, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, folks, again, brace yourselves for maximum craziness from Trump, starting with this clip here.
Didn't get elected. I did get elected for crime, but I didn't get elected for what we're doing. This is many, many steps above it. I want to thank Stephen Miller, who's right back in the audience right there. I'd love to have him. I love watching him on television. I'd love to have him come up and explain his true feelings, but maybe not his truest feelings. That might be going a little bit too far. But Stephen, thank you for doing an unbelievable job. And
so that is Donald Trump openly admitting that his deputy White House chief of staff is either a fascist, an authoritarian, a racist, because he's like, I don't want you to say how you actually believe. We got to conceal it. As crazy as you are, I think you're, even crazier still, and I can't have you admitting how crazy you are in public. Just a shocking thing to say about somebody as controversial and unpopular and disliked as Stephen Miller, who has such an outsized role in the Trump administration. Here's another clip.
Mr. President, thank you. Curious, why did you authorize the CIA to go into Venezuela? And is there more information you can share about these strikes on the alleged?
Well, I can't do that, but I authorized for two reasons, really. Number one, they have emptied their prisons into the United States of America. They came in through the, they came in through the border. They came in because we had an open border policy. And as soon as I heard that, I said, a lot of these countries, they're not the only country, but they're the worst abuser. And they've entered they've allowed thousands and thousands of prisoners, mental institution, people from mental institutions, insane asylums.
So again, I think he's just confused by the word asylum because, of course, asylum can refer, it's an outdated term to refer to a mental institution. But in this case, it means people who are basically refugees seeking asylum, safety in the United States. And I think he heard that and he's been confused for years and years and years. He's also, again, stumbling over his words. He seems to be confused. But yes, according to the New York Times, they're reporting on this, that Trump did indeed authorize the CIA to initiate operations in Venezuela, which is pretty ominous when you consider, and Trump is asked about one of the potential ominous implications of this policy.
But we're going to stop them by land also.
Does the CIA have authority to take out Maduro?
Oh, I don't want to answer a question like that. That's a ridiculous question for me to be given. Not really a ridiculous question, but wouldn't it be a ridiculous question for me to answer?
So, again, the implication is that perhaps the CIA might be trying to kill Maduro, the Venezuelan dictator. That's not very encouraging, especially when you consider that Trump promised him being America first and no new wars, and the peacetime president really undercuts against it. Here, Trump, again, is celebrating and calling for the prosecution of his political opponents, something Joe Biden and Barack Obama never did.
And I hope that everybody's, they're involved in it. I'm not. I'm the one that had to suffer through it and ultimately win. But what they did was criminal. Deranged Jack Smith, in my opinion, is a criminal. And I noticed his interviewer was, I think that was Weissman. And I hope they're going to look into Weissman, too. Weissman's a bad guy. And he had somebody in Lisa, who was his puppet, worked in the office really as the top person. And I think that she should be looked at very strongly. There was tremendous criminal activity having to do. If we don't have fair elections in this country, we're not going to have a country. And I've said it from the beginning, fair elections and borders. And we need also fair press, because if you don't have fair press, it's very tough. And we've got the strongest border of anybody. Nobody has a border. We have a border where the numbers just came out again. You saw 0 people came in illegally. Now, we do take people into our country legally, but 0 people. But, you're talking about a different subject. You're talking about political crime. They have committed massive political crime. I hope they're looking at Shifty Schiff. I hope they're looking at all these people. And I'm allowed to find out. I'm allowed to, I'm, in theory, the chief law enforcement officer. But I have a very good, talented group. This is about something else. But I hope they're looking at political.
So again, Trump is publicly calling for the political investigation and prosecution of former federal prosecutor Andrew Weissman, Adam Schiff, who's currently under investigation. He's a Democratic senator from California, but he has not heretofore been prosecuted. Again, just absolute weaponization of justice, the likes of which we've simply never seen. Here's another clip.
As what I had to go through, they raided my house in Florida. It was an illegal raid. I have a lawsuit that was doing very well, and when I became president, I said, I'm sort of suing myself. I don't know, how do you settle the lawsuit? I'll say, give me X dollars, right? And I don't know what to do with the lawsuit. It's a great lawsuit, and now I won. It sort of looks bad. I'm suing myself, right? So I don't know, but
he's not suing himself. He's effectively suing the federal government. He's not the federal government. He has this weird view of himself. I am the Senate, sort of Emperor Palpatine view. But it's interesting how he's basically signaling, yeah, I might pressure the federal government to settle a lawsuit that I'm filing with them as an American citizen and basically extort the federal government into paying him with federal taxpayer dollars. It's absurd. It's a graft and it's a grift. It's Donald Trump trying to enrich himself once again off the presidency. And no, the search of Mar-a-Lago was not illegal because it was not only never overturned in court, but it was executed because of a judicially appointed or a judicially signed off on warrant.
Got a lot of people paid, actually. We got the people that we want paid, okay? And we want the FBI paid, we want the military paid. We got the people that we want paid. And I'll tell you, the Democrats, they don't talk about this. We're getting rid of programs that we didn't like, but that were negotiated in, but we didn't like. We're terminating those programs, and they're going to be terminated on a permanent basis. And it's thousands of people, and it's billions of dollars. We're getting rid of a lot of things that we never wanted because of the fact that they made this stupid move. And they don't want to talk about it. They have their day coming up. I hear very few people are going to be there, by the way. But they have their day coming up, and they want to have their day in the sun. But they should really make a deal. So what we're doing, they call him Darth Vader, but he's actually a very nice person, Russell Vogt. But Russell Vogt is really terminating tremendous numbers of Democrat projects. There's not only jobs, the project in Manhattan, the project in New York, it's billions and billions of dollars that Schumer has worked 20 years to get. It's terminated.
So again, he's made it very clear it's about punishing Democratic politicians and their voters and their constituents for not bending the knee to him. He's very punitive in that respect. He admits that Russ Vought, who leads the Office of Management and Budget, is effectively Darth Vader because he's doing this to be very cruel and very deliberate. And it's just a way to spitefully screw over not just the politicians, but more importantly, the millions of people that they represent. And maybe voters should take note of that in the 2026 and 2028 elections. Here's another clip.
Mr. President, you're meeting with President Xi in a few weeks.
Yeah.
If you can't come to an agreement or a deal at that meeting, are we in for a sustained trade war with China?
Well, you're in one now. Look, we have 100% tariff. If we didn't have tariffs, we would be exposed as being a nothing. We would have no defense.
Again, he's so cognitively impaired. He's so confused. But there he is, openly admitting that we are in a trade war that he started with the world's second biggest economy. What a startling, stupid thing to say. It's true, right? But you would think that a profligate liar and a prolific liar like Donald Trump, that he would hesitate to tell the truth given how unpopular it is. But yeah, he's admitting, I started a trade war. Here's another clip, speaking of mental confusion.
As an example, if you look at Pakistan and Iran, I told them I was in the midst of negotiating a trade deal with Iran, and Pakistan was going to be in line. And because of tariffs, they all want to negotiate much differently. We were making a good deal. And then I heard that they're shooting at each other. And I said during one of my conversations, are you guys going to go to war? Two nuclear powers?
So he meant to say Pakistan and India, but he says Iran because, again, he just doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. And I want you to imagine that were Joe Biden. Imagine how Trump would react. So here is another clip.
Twice. Okay. I won it very big the last time. And I won it big the first time. And I won it big the second time, but we had criminals that didn't allow. I mean, I hope they're going to go into that. I hope they go into the votes which are being stored in Fulton County and take a real look at those votes.
So again, Donald Trump insisting that he won the 2020 election in Georgia, even though, of course, there's no evidence that he did. Let's see here. Oh, my God. All right. Here's one where Trump half-heartedly and half-seriously reprimands Brian Glenn, who's Marjorie Taylor Greene's boyfriend, for saying that, for lying on his behalf, yes, because Glenn says that Trump won the 2020 election and won it in Georgia. I believe you did, but Trump takes issue even with those words.
Any founding presidents about your field?
By the way, you won Georgia 3 times. Just
I agree. Do you agree with me?
I do.
He's the media.
For someone that spends a lot of time in Georgia, I believe you won that.
Yeah, okay.
I really have a question about.
You know, the word believe isn't strong enough, right?
Yeah,
you know.
It's so weird and creepy and culty that this is where it is. Like, and Marjorie Taylor Greene, Brian Glenn's girlfriend, just acknowledged that MAGA has become a cult of personality that brooks no dissent. Here's another clip.
There you go.
It's true. I know I won too. We have the great Newt Gingrich. Newt, you agree with us? Good. Otherwise, I'd have him dismissed immediately from the room. You know, his wife, as you know, is becoming an ambassador to a great country, Callista. So congratulations. And we're going to take a picture. And the only reason I'm doing it, he speaks so well of me. He said, I'll go down as the greatest president in history. And then he blew it. He said, I'm not sure if I put him above Washington or Lincoln. So I'm not that happy about that, dude.
God, that's Newt Gingrich, former Republican Speaker of the House. And I got to tell you, Newt Gingrich, so Donald Trump is obviously the most influential Republican in the past 40 years, probably since Reagan. But I think of like the unholy the unholy square would be Trump, Mitch McConnell, Ronald Reagan, but also Newt Gingrich. So McConnell is seen as kind of the embodiment of, vicious Machiavellian short-term scheming, screw over the other guy relentlessly at all costs. And that's true. But it was really Newt Gingrich, as Speaker of the House under President Clinton, who really pioneered that agenda. He was the one who really changed it from a state of at least nominal statesmanship and all about screwing the other guy. And then McConnell took that playbook under the Bush and Obama administrations and Trump administrations and ran with it. Newt Gingrich is as nefarious in his own way as Mitch McConnell.
What we're doing is nothing. Are you kidding? Nothing. They write stories. Why aren't they doing this? And we'll leave. I don't have to leave it up to them, but I choose to at this moment at least. But there's never been anybody treated in the history of politics.
So that's Donald Trump still bitching about himself, saying that he was unfairly maligned. And actually, you know what? Maybe he'll get even more involved when it comes to the prosecution of his political opponents as he seeks revenge. Pretty shocking stuff. Again, cognitively impaired, visibly confused, and outright deranged. Donald Trump to a T. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.